IDK.
Hello, and welcome to the next 2 hours of non-stop
No,
podcast
that's not
spectacular.
true. Stop it.
Only 2? I thought it was 5.
It's terrible. I hate it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to We'll Figure It Out, the podcast, the second episode. Took a while. We got it. Second episode, episode 2. In this episode, we will try to talk about movies that we are excited coming out, basically comic book style movies, because we've thought about all the movies coming out, and there's like a bunch of comic book movies coming out that look like they might be pretty good, and we're going to talk about them, and that's basically the idea.
Yeah, Blake, who was part of it last week, couldn't be here because he's celebrating his brother's birthday. Happy birthday, Trey. But we're joined by our friend Matt Lane.
Hello!
Matthew. I'm Derek.
I'm
Also.
Travis,
Hey,
I think.
probably.
Maybe.
No one knows for sure. Anyway, guys, you want to start?
Sure.
Sweet. Okay, so basically, I have a list here, basically in the order that they're coming out this year. The first one, as you guys probably know, I'm guessing. You guys know what it is?
Batman vs. Superman.
Indeed, it is. Is that like 2 weeks from now?
About 2 weeks.
Yeah,
March,
it's 2
March
weeks.
less than that.
March 25th.
Yeah.
I think I am actually off that night, so I can go.
Hey,
Awesome.
I
You'll be there.
I will go for sure. I mean, probably. I will go. Definitely.
Will you join us?
I think I will.
Have you seen Man of Steel?
Okay, so that's the thing. I was going to watch that yesterday, and then I didn't. And then I was going to watch it today, and then I sat down, and then I said, I don't think I want to watch
Do you
this right. No, but I could get it online easily. Like, I can go. I found it, and I was about to like pay $2 to watch it on like demand, and then I decided that I didn't want to.
I say if you only it's worth $2, ask Chris. He has the Blu-ray. You
That's
can probably
true.
borrow from
I
him.
can get it for no dollars, but I mean, I think I definitely want to watch it. The only problem is generally I've heard people say it's not the best one.
I was not impressed with it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard in general, so that's the only reason that I haven't yet seen it yet. But I probably will before this.
It
one.
grows on you.
Exactly.
I mean,
Just so that I can see what goes on.
I've watched it like 3 times now.
I think Zod was good.
Yeah. I've watched it like 3 times now. I would say I don't love it. I don't hate it.
That's probably.
But it didn't do for DC what Iron Man 1 did
Oh,
for
yeah.
Marvel.
But the effects were decent.
That's ridiculous.
The effects were great.
Yeah, which is what Zack Snyder does basically.
Yes.
Visually perfect. But yeah, that's an interesting idea that I've been thinking about a lot. Actually, is that Marvel did such a good job of deciding what they wanted to do and then doing it, and so and DC kind of did the opposite. And what it is basically is, Marvel basically said, okay, fine, we're gonna start with our like big guys that we have. So we're gonna do an Iron Man movie, a Captain America movie, and a Thor movie, and then we're gonna put them all together, and then add a
And
couple.
kind of a Hulk movie.
Yeah, exactly. Which is loosely connected, but not really, because they changed the Hulk.
But,
So it's-
you have General Ross.
Yeah,
show up in Civil
now
War,
they
But
do.
we'll talk about Civil War more later.
They finally connected it.
exactly. But basically, but what DC is deciding to do is, and I think it's for 2 reasons. So they basically decided we're gonna do Man of Steel because Superman's our biggest thing, obviously, and then they're gonna try to hurry up and get the rest of their people. So like if you look at, I have a list actually here. So in Batman vs Superman, we have obviously Batman and Superman, and appearing in some form, Cyborg, Aquaman, Flash, and Wonder Woman, all in that one movie. They have to be kind of introduced. And I think there's 2 reasons. One is they're obviously trying to get Justice League as quick as they can to try to get up to where Marvel is in their universe. And I think the other reason is honestly that they don't want to just do what Marvel did, which is have a movie like, if they did Iron Man, and so say that Jon Favreau did the Iron Man movie and he didn't do a great job with it, that kind of messes up the character of Iron Man going forward, because you can't change that character. So if he had decided to do Iron Man as like, a serious like guy, and like people just didn't like Tony Stark in that movie, then he would have been bad in the Avengers. Whereas what I think DC is doing now is saying, we're going to have to introduce Wonder Woman and Cyborg and Flash really quickly so that we can say, hey, this is what the character looks like, this is what they talk like. Now, whatever director does this next movie that has them in it, they have to kind of follow that.
And you hope that Zack Snyder does a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping. I'm not extremely hopeful, but I think that it could be okay.
Now, based on the trailers, the first one kind of introduced Lex and stuff. I don't know how I feel about the new Lex they're doing. It seems a little out there.
Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg, what do you think, Matt?
I think he will do good for what they're going for. I don't think he'll be the Lex Luthor maybe most people want, because when I think of Lex Luthor, I think someone who's intimidating, someone who a strong-willed guy, because he's a normal guy and go against Superman. In this trailer, I'm seeing some little college kid sitting there, and I think it will work for what they're going for. But it's not the Lex Luthor I want to see.
Yeah, I think that the more like traditional Lex Luthor is like this guy who's supposed to be known as like an intimidating businessman kind of guy who has like, and that's his front. His front is people are like, oh man, this guy's he's a great successful businessman that people appreciate, but yet obviously has this sort of darker side.
Well, I mean, Jesse Eisenberg is great at playing a businessman that no one likes. I mean,
That's true.
But yeah, and I think that like it just seems like from what we've seen, and maybe it's not correct, but from what we've seen in the trailer, it seems a little bit more, I guess, like wacky than you would think. Like
Mark Zuckerberg.
yeah, exactly. It seems more off the he's kind of fast talking, like that kind of thing, and as opposed to the
coldly
more
calculated.
yeah, kind of
Yeah.
slow. He's like slow, intelligent. Like I'm going to outthink you, but kind of meticulously and slowly, instead of just trying to like be fast talking.
I will say I don't know how I feel about the Doomsday reveal in the second trailer. It seems like they're trying to throw a little too much in there.
To me, almost like they are spoiling their whole movie. Again, we don't know yet, but like the whole trailer seemed. I think know going into this. This is what's going to happen in this movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I will say the third trailer is actually kind of what sold it for me finally, because we saw more Batman acting the way Batman does. We saw more of his point of view, which I think that's what everyone really wanted to see. They want to see Batman again.
And to me, might be our first time seeing like the truly comic book accurate Batman. Like when I saw that trailer, like this is Batman. This is what I've been waiting for. You played Arkham Knight games. This is Batman.
Yeah.
Get Alfred on the console,
Yeah.
like, hey, we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
and
this is what I've been waiting to see.
Yeah, it's kind of this awesome mix that again we haven't seen in anything else really, outside of the comics probably and maybe a few other things. But that's kind of at least from that one scene that we got, which is kind of okay. He's sat back. He's like stealthy. He's thought about what he's gonna do. He's planned it out in his head. Alfred's helping him out, eye in the sky kind of style. And basically he's decided, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna break into this room. I'm gonna hit this guy. I'm gonna do this. And then he comes out and he does it. And he's very physically like strong and can punch people out. But first he sits back and he thought about it and he said, okay, this is what I'm going to do when I get in there.
I love the referencing that Ben Affleck's older, so it's like, hey, I'm getting slower in my old age, Alfred, and all
Yeah.
that.
Which is an interesting way to do it that I think works. The one problem that I think this movie might have is we need to have I basically understand what the reasoning is for Batman and Superman to be fighting and to be against each other. But what I don't understand is if that's their thing, like how quickly is that going to resolve? If the Justice League movie is happening pretty soon and there's nothing really in between, like basically, I don't think there is, isn't there? Like there's a Batman
Wonder
movie.
Woman's coming.
Yeah, there's
Wonder
Wonder
Woman
Woman,
sucks, yeah.
but there's no like Batman or Superman movies in between
No.
there. So basically, the only thing we're gonna have is this movie, and then after that is basically Justice League almost.
Pretty much.
So it's like they have to resolve their conflict within this movie, basically.
It looks like they resolved it because at the end when Wonder Woman shows up, it's like, is she with you? No, I thought she was with you.
Yeah, they seem to be friendly by the end of it, which
Well,
I don't.
The subtitle of the movie is Dawn of Justice, so maybe something happens in this movie that will bring them together.
I mean, yeah, there obviously is going to be something that like requires them to start forming the Justice League, which makes sense because we already know Wonder Woman, Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman are all there in the movie at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's obviously going to be the start of it.
The question is though, who is the actual villain? Because they seem to be bouncing around.
Yeah, it seems like they might be like trying to have. It seems like from what the trailers imply that it's Lex Luthor who has engineered this thing to have Batman and Superman fight each other, and then while they're busy, maybe he revives General Zod and turns him into Doomsday and releases him to either kill them both or
Maybe his plans don't go right, and he forced them to fight each other.
Yeah,
or fight in
because
general.
that's what it seems like. It seems like he was the one who wanted to get them to fight.
Right.
And then it seems like also that he was the one who wanted to get General Zod back to life.
And Zack Snyder seems to be alluding to another villain they have not shown.
I've heard that as well, yeah. Which I don't know who that would be and
I don't-
why.
I don't think they would show Darkseid too soon.
I think the problem is though they're running into the problem all the comic book movies have. They're trying to throw too many villains into it at once.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Especially since Batman and Superman are already fighting each other. I feel like that, if they had set up Batman and Superman as two people that we knew in this universe already and that had a good reason to fight, that could have been a good enough movie by itself, I feel like. It's just those two people and them fighting and, why are they fighting and what's going on. The rest of it didn't need to be there, but I think it does need to be there because we don't know anything about
Well, I
this
think-
Batman or anything.
DC has a lot riding on this movie. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
This movie doesn't work. They kind of messed up their
yeah.
whole plan right here.
It's going to be hard.
So, I mean, hopefully they took it on themselves to make sure this was good. Because Man of Steel, at best, has met kind of a mixed reception. You
Yeah.
know, people kind of liked it, people kind of hated it. So this one has to win the audience over.
Yeah. Whereas I feel like Marvel, I feel like just in general, I think Iron Man, everyone
Yeah,
across the board
Marvel's.
thought, especially if you'd read the Iron Man comics and you liked the character, I feel like everyone was pretty much happy with how that turned out.
Yeah, Marvel's kind of guaranteed their audience now, so it's like no, they can put anything out and
Yeah.
people will watch it.
People will go see, Guardians of the Galaxy or Ant-Man when they've never heard of who
Yeah.
that is, but they saw that it's Marvel, so they're gonna see what it is, and then they go see it, and it's an extremely successful movie.
But are we getting kind of like Marvel heavy now with like so many films coming out each year? Or?
I think it might be. I think the reason that it would, what I want to see and what they're doing, which is good, is not just the sequels. And this year we're getting a lot of in the years coming up, we're getting a lot of good new things. And because we're having so many good new things, I think they're going to have to start pretty soon, not getting rid of the old people, but having them less. Robert Downey Jr. is
Right.
probably leaving at some point soon.
Captain America's probably gonna
Exactly.
die.
So it's kind of, you have to get in new people, and I think they're doing a good job of Doctor Strange and Black Panther and all these people that they have planned to come in as new people, and as long as the new ones are good, then I think that.
I think
That's
what
fine.
Marvel does so well is they, even with their sequels, every movie is kind of like a different genre within itself. And they kind of push the boundaries again. So like The Winter Soldier was a far different movie than the first Avenger movie, and Civil War appears to be even different. And now every movie they kind of go to a specific genre. This movie's going to be this.
I will say this: as surprised as I am, Captain America seems to be the best trilogy of all the Marvel
I
ones
think so,
far.
too.
I love. Yeah, I'm one of the few people who I don't think it's bad. I just was not a fan of the first movie as much as
It was
the
a
other
period
ones.
piece.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed that, but I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it as much. But I think Winter Soldier was amazing and one of the best Marvel movies. It's definitely my top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
I think Iron Man and Guardians of the Galaxy are just above that, and then Winter Soldier is the next best thing.
I think my biggest problem with Captain America, the first Avenger, is it kind of montaged us at a point where it's kind of like went too fast.
That is
and you
true.
didn't really
I thought it
actually-
was a very strong movie. Took the first half. Once he saves Bucky halfway through from the Red
Yeah.
Skull, then it kind of rushes the next couple years.
Yeah, they kind of just said it,
I think
and then
they
they went on great adventures together.
Yeah, I thought it was still good, but I like to have seen more of that in
Exactly.
between time.
Yeah. Whereas I feel like Winter Soldier did everything that it was
Yeah.
supposed to do really well. And so since we're here, we can definitely just move on and talk about the next movie coming out, which is Civil War, which I have a date here for, but I think that we all probably, it's May 6th. May 6th is the Captain America.
Marvel's major movies always come out in May.
Yeah.
And so it's, I wonder if it's people always keep saying it's going to be weird. Is it like just a coincidence, or if it was somehow planned that basically they're having the two basically Civil War movies coming out of DC and Marvel within the same 2 months
Well,
period.
didn't Marvel announce Civil War before DC?
Yeah, they
announced?
announced it
They
a long
did.
time ago, and then Batman vs Superman was actually I feel like it was fairly recently
Right.
kind of put together.
I kind of, I know a couple years ago, Marvel claimed this date for their movie.
Yeah.
And DC wanted to release Batman vs Superman the same day.
Exactly.
And they kind of went back and forth for a long time. Marvel was determined, we're not moving
Yeah.
our day.
And then obviously DC said, well, you guys have how many movies does Marvel release that have been really successful versus how many DC has released basically one movie that was fairly
Yeah.
successful. So they realized they had to pull back. And
I think what something Marvel's done, Disney's probably a part of that idea, is the fact that they are, they're releasing movies now almost a year round. Instead of just saying, this is the summer movie. Now you have movies in November, you have movies in the middle of the summer, you have movies in the early spring, I think it's helping them because you can kind of move that, and DC's kind of catching on to that too. You can start releasing movies year round without having to deal with, the crowded summer.
exactly, yeah, you can move them around and people will still go see it usually and whenever. it
And
is.
Star Wars is a proof of that, at least in December.
That's true. Yeah, Star Wars basically released almost on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
It's practically, and then it's the second highest grossing movie ever.
I mean,
All
yeah,
time.
everyone wants to go see Star Wars for Christmas.
Exactly. That's what
But,
great.
Oh man, okay, so I think we just talk about the last trailer that just came out
so
for Civil War.
trailer just came out. Was it 2 days ago? 3 days ago? It was
Something like that,
very
yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
And obviously, okay.
Thursday.
So I saw the first trailers from Civil War that came out before, and I was excited for it because I think that's a very interesting storyline, and I was curious to see how they would change it because we know they had to change it
Right.
very drastically for it to fit in this universe and make sense. So I'm glad that they found a way that seems to make sense, which is basically paying homage to the original in a pretty good way. From what we've seen in this trailer, there's a lot of focus in this one more than the others on Iron Man basically saying, he says the line basically, "We need something to keep us in check." And then Cap says to him, "If I see something going wrong, I'm not just going to sit back and not do anything. I'm going to go in and stop it." And then that's their main point of disagreement. And it also seems like obviously the thing with Bucky is another thing that kind of drives the split between.
That kind of goes back to the Winter Soldier, where like they showed Zola was showing the montages of things the Winter Soldier's done. Do you think that Bucky killed Stark's parents?
I think so. It's definitely alluded to. Whether or not they ever actually confirm it, I think it's definitely alluded to. That could very well be what pushes Tony even further. That here's Steve,
Yeah.
protecting this murderer.
I think that's what made it draw us to Black Panther, and
Yeah, it could be.
I think he killed how do you say his name?
T'Chaka.
T'Chaka's parents, or father that was the king of Wakanda.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things in that. So basically, the new characters that we are seeing in this movie are basically just Black Panther. There's a few other small people. Crossbones is getting a bigger role apparently than it was in the past,
Yeah.
and then Martin Freeman's character, who is supposed to be someone fairly important later on, is getting a small role. But I think that honestly, I never thought this would be true, but I think that personally, and I think a lot of people are saying this, I think there's more hype about Spider-Man
Yes.
appearing than anything else because it's just
Marvel has Spider-Man.
yeah, exactly. So if I had thought about Marvel making a movie universe, the first thing I would have thought is, okay, who are Marvel's most before the movies came out? Who would you say that Marvel's most popular characters are? If you had to guess, just generally, who do you think?
I'd say Spider-Man, X-Men.
Yeah, I would have said Spider-Man, X-Men, and maybe Fantastic Four.
Maybe Captain America.
Captain America is
He's
pretty popular.
pretty
Yeah.
well known.
But I feel like Fantastic Four is supposed to be their main, the first. That's the
Yeah,
first
their
family.
first-
It's supposed to be the biggest.
They always
deal.
gotten it wrong.
Spider-Man has always kind of sold comic books more
Yeah.
than any superhero.
Spider-Man's
that
like the face
has.
of Marvel, really.
And so I was so surprised that they got a movie universe working without any of those characters
Yeah.
in it. But they did, and it was great. So now it's slowly happening that they're okay, we can maybe get some of these people back. There was rumors about Fox getting Fantastic Four maybe at some point in the future. But at least now we have Spider-Man, which is obviously a big deal.
And it's not really exactly related, but because it's not a movie. But season 2 of Daredevil comes out with Punisher and Elektra, and
Yeah, that's also a
Daredevil's
pretty
really
big
going
deal.
big on Netflix
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I mean the Netflix stuff is obviously taking off and getting more popular
Because
as they go.
Marvel just got that back from Fox too,
Yeah.
and that's another big Marvel character.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are more things. Was the Daredevil movie also Fox? when
That
it
was
came out?
Fox.
That's
Back
what
in
I
the
thought.
day,
Yeah.
yes.
So that was a pretty big deal, and they decided, I think very correctly, that they needed to do something different with Daredevil, because they didn't want to make an R-rated Marvel movie, I don't think, and I don't think they want to do that as
No.
Disney, because I don't think has Disney ever released an R-rated movie?
I don't think so.
I think that
believe they have.
I think they
one
released
from-
under, but not under Disney. I think they put a different label on
Yeah,
it
that one there.
because they don't want to have the Disney logo on
Sub-companies.
it. So, and they wouldn't. I don't think they would do that with their Marvel properties. So instead, they're saying, okay, we can make shows, and we could even make a movie on Netflix that is released and can do whatever it needs to be. Especially for Punisher, I feel like it's going to be difficult
Yeah.
to do that without getting too intense.
Of course, I don't know. Maybe Marvel may go the R-rated route since Deadpool did so well.
Deadpool.
I mean, Deadpool's Fox, but if they could find another hero that might,
They wouldn't do it. I don't think for no. It would have to be a character
Yeah.
that makes sense for.
Yeah.
They're not gonna make an R-rated
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of feel like that if they do that, I think they would still choose to do it through Netflix or through
Yeah.
some other
yeah,
way.
Like Punisher,
Yeah.
Ghost Rider, Blade.
Because I mean, they're doing the Defenders is going to be like a mini series,
Yeah.
right? So they could easily do another mini series or another movie on Netflix as well with those characters or with different ones.
does Marvel have Ghost Rider back?
Yes, they do.
Now the question is, how would they do that? Because I don't know.
That would be interesting. I feel like that goes as a Marvel mini series or something, like a Netflix mini series,
Yeah.
better than
I think they will wait till after Doctor Strange is released
That's
to kind of
probably
introduce that side of the universe.
yeah. That's
before you
another.
delve into Ghost Rider and Blade.
That's another weird. You need to get a little bit farther into this before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, I think Civil War. I think that trailer obviously. First off, you saw Spider-Man.
Yes.
We got the first glimpse of that costume. What do you guys think of that?
I like it. A lot of people gave issues to the eyes moving, but they're like, well, Spider-Man can't do that. It's like what they did with Deadpool. It works with Deadpool, but it doesn't work with Spider-Man. But if you actually listen, it sounds like there's
It's a
little
tech.
motors in there.
Yeah,
It's
I think
text,
that I think that's my favorite part actually is just that the eyes can move because the thing that is interesting about superhero movies in general is in comic books it's not a problem obviously, but in movies there's a lot of things that they have to do with if this hero wears a mask, how do you get the emotion to
Expression.
work? It's really difficult because it's just like if you watch some of the older movies where if a hero's just wearing a mask completely, it's hard to get any emotion out of them. And honestly, I think the best movie so far that has done that is Deadpool. I think it was perfect
Yeah.
because like they did that thing with the eyes, which was perfect, and you could see sadness and joy in his eyes, which was perfect. And also, the entire time, it was almost comedic the way that they had like when he talked, it was like muffled by the mask because it was like realistic. It was like he was talking, but he couldn't quite talk correctly because he was wearing a mask over his face. And I think that's really interesting to have that effect over it. So yeah, they have to do something like that with Spider-Man because obviously he has to be wearing the mask. Is he the first Marvel hero in the cinematic universe that actually has a real like secret identity?
Technically, I mean, Daredevil, he's in the TV series, so
Yeah.
yeah. But the first one in the movies, yeah, it's the first one.
So
yeah,
it's
we
like,
don't know if they're actually going to reveal like how it's going to be.
yeah,
revealed
it's gonna be because I mean, Iron Man had it for like his first movie and then that was it.
Yeah.
He was secret for not very long.
And everyone knows Captain America and the Hulk.
Yeah, there's no
Thor doesn't have an
hiding.
identity.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no. So they either have no identity or everyone knows who they are because it doesn't matter.
The closest thing you're gonna have to a secret identity would be Hawkeye because his family's all hidden and everything.
That's
so.
true. He kind of hides, but I mean, still, he doesn't wear a mask. People,
Kind of government
it's,
agent.
it's kind of just exactly. It's
He
just like
is,
a shield.
but like he's keeping his like part
Yeah.
of, like,
Yeah,
separate.
it's like all the shield people who have kind of just like have their names erased from things. Is
Right.
kind of what it is. But this is the first person who actually just wears a mask and people don't know who he is. And it's kind of an interesting problem where obviously Iron Man, they solved it pretty easily. He just presses a button and then his face is protruding through the mask, like the stuff falls away, and then no one else really wears anything over their head.
Right.
They just kind of have,
I mean, Captain America, everyone knew who he was since the 40s.
exactly.
Yep.
It was kind of well known that he knew he was Captain America.
And Thor was just Thor. He
Yeah,
doesn't
no,
have another
and
name.
no one knows who Thor is until suddenly everyone knows who Thor is because there was aliens in New York. So and then now it's like, oh, well, that's bad. Who's this guy?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the only people that actually have like secret identities would be Daredevil. 'Cause
Yeah.
no one really knows who he is outside of the mask.
Which is again an interesting thing that they've done on Netflix, and that one feels again very real. Didn't he just wear like a ski mask basically
Yeah, for a
the
long
first
time.
half of the
Yeah.
thing, and then he kind of. So I wonder how they're going to do Spider-Man. I liked the old Spider-Man in the first Spider-Man movies that they did back in like 2001.
Yeah.
His early like finding out who he was and like making costumes, and they all looked bad, and he fought like amateur wrestling.
Yeah.
In the ring. Like that was one of my favorite parts of that movie was just him being like, well, okay, what do I do? I have superpowers. I guess I'll try to make a costume, but it looked really sloppy because he's just making it.
It's like they
And
did
then he
that
started
even-
trying to learn sewing, and he was doing like.
They did that in Amazing Spider-Man 2 with like they showed it evolving too. Like first it was kind of the mask with like a hoodie on top, and then it slowly.
Yeah, exactly. And that was an interesting idea, I think, for Spider-Man. So I wonder, and this one, and the actual suit. What do you guys think of that?
I really like it.
I like it. It's very close to the classic comics.
I mean, it's very, it's look at some of the old pictures in the comics that like take right in from the page. I mean, there's a couple minor differences, but I mean,
like the arrows on the shoulders.
yeah,
and
which
stuff.
is it's not a huge deal.
Yeah,
But because not everything translates completely
exactly. But it does have sort of that
That very
comic book
classic
style. Yeah, exactly.
And
look.
the other one that was like pretty close to like the newer Spider-Man would have been
over.
the
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Amazing Spider-Man
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
Which say what you want about that movie, it looked like Spider-Man was really good there.
Yeah.
I think-
What are you saying,
I
sorry?
think people are torn on the costume because I think it is so different. People were
Yeah.
expecting like something more of what was there before. Well, this one is pretty much like a comic book. They took it pretty much right from the comic,
Yeah.
and I personally love it.
I think that I have to see before I really judge. I think I have to see him moving around a little bit
Yeah.
more, and then also seeing him interacting with other people. Like I just want to see him like standing next to Tony Stark and all the other people to see if it looks right. But I think it does look very interesting. Do you guys know? I don't think they obviously haven't said anything yet about it. But do you guys think they're gonna go what direction they're gonna take with his actual powers? Like what can he actually do and what can he not do?
I saw some people say it looked like his web shooters were mechanical, kind of like in Amazing Spider-Man, which
Yes.
was from the comics.
They
It
slowed it
wasn't-
down. He had a web. You can see, I guess,
Yeah,
something around his wrist.
It seems
Yeah.
like they're trying to. It seems like that makes more sense with what they're doing in that the character is supposed to be kind of this young scientist.
It's pretty much super genius.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That-
that's the thing. In the
kind of
comics, he
like-
never had the web shooters like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man had.
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
He- And then hopefully they keep true to Peter's character. He is supposed to be super smart, which could lead into why he sides with Tony because
Yeah.
he was two geniuses,
Which is again, I think one of the reasons that I did enjoy the first Spider-Man trilogy over the the Amazing Spider-Man a little bit more. It felt more like Peter Parker was a genius in that one. When Tobey Maguire played it, he was, I mean, first off, he was kind of a nerd, especially, and then even more than that, he was like, when he graduated and he went to college, he was like very top of his class, very much in his own head, and very intelligent person.
But it's interesting also, like, it said that, but then I feel like in Amazing Spider-Man they showed it more of him making the web shooters, him like kind
That's
of working with.
I think the original Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, they went into a lot of detail that he was smart. As the sequels went on, they kind of got less and less of that. While the Amazing Spider-Man movies kind of focused more on he's supposed to be smart. He created his own web shooters and stuff.
And he was working with Dr. Connors to do like the lizard stuff. He was
I think if I had to compare the two of them, like I think Toby was the better Peter, Andrew was the better Spider-Man.
I think that's true, especially in like I saw glimpses in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 that I loved. The opening scenes were one of my favorites in any Spider-Man movie. Like when he's swinging around and he's talking to himself, he hums the theme song that people have, which is exactly. Like I think that was one of the best parts of Spider-Man on screen that I've ever seen.
It was also his ringtone.
Exactly.
But
I just don't think the rest of the movie was as good as that was. I feel like they didn't do as much of that as they.
I'm hoping that this new one they kind of finally bridge the gap and make the perfect Peter, this perfect Spider-Man.
I think they already, from what I've seen, it seems like they're doing the right idea, where they pick someone who is really young so that he can kind of grow up throughout the movies, and then they've also picked someone who, I don't know, it just seems like he could be that just from the little that we've seen.
One thing I'll say on the suit aspect, and maybe it's just the actor, the way the particular shot was, he seemed a little too bulky to me. Like, Spider-Man's supposed to be a little more lean, kind of like they showed in the, Spider-Man from what I've seen at least. He's not supposed to be like really muscular.
There's some in the comics. Some comics he's really skinny. In other ones he's a little bulkier.
Exactly.
Because he is technically superhuman. He does get stronger.
He sometimes
but it's more
has
like lean muscle. I think.
In sometimes he can have super spider strength. On occasion, if he really needs it, is what it seems like. Sometimes you'll be looking at the comic and then he'll be like, "Oh, suddenly I have super strength because I need it," but not always.
Like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was pretty bulky.
Yeah.
Like the '90s cartoon series, he was a bulkier Spider-Man. Like Amazing Spider-Man, he was very lean. So I mean, I don't know.
So it's kind of. I wonder how they're going to handle that in terms of like in some versions of different things, his suit was sort of like not armored, but like sort of.
Iron Spider?
Iron Spider, but I mean, like, not quite that far, but kind of, meant to be like, oh, I know that I'm going to get shot or I'm going to get hit by these things. How am I gonna, how is he gonna handle being, like, shot by Hawkeye or being hit by Thor? It'll be interesting to see how he does that. Is he just gonna kind of move around them because he's faster? It's
Spider
interesting.
sense.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder how they're gonna show that, and if, like, the eyes moving, like, Sorbo's in there, if that's gonna be something Tony Stark made. If there's actually gonna be like maybe like a screen something's like focusing or something on.
It could be.
Yeah, he
like
could definitely
maybe
have
an aspect of the Iron Spider, not fully like the comics, but kind of like a high tech spider suit.
And they might even go further into that because they've already said that that Peter Parker and Tony Stark kind of are gonna have this bond in this universe, and so it is definitely possible that Tony Stark could give him gadgets and things and help him out because he seems obviously he's the one that called him in and he's the one that knows him more than anyone else. It seems like.
Well, with how Bruce Banner there, he needs some science, bro.
Exactly.
And the question really remains too: is Spider-Man stay on his team the whole movie, or is he
switch over?
In the comic story, he did strange over after a time.
It's an interesting idea too. It's. I hope that we have enough of Spider-Man. Like, okay, so what do you think? Do you think that scene right there, where we saw in the trailer, is that the first thing we're gonna ever see of Spider-Man, or is he gonna be in the movie before that?
I think he'll be before. I think you'll see Tony recruit him in. Maybe as I don't know how they'll.
Maybe they'll just show him as Peter
him.
Parker, and then they won't actually show him as Spider-Man. And they'll just be.
I think you'll.
Because I mean, that's a good entrance for Spider-Man, but I feel like having the entrance of Peter Parker before would be really a good idea.
I think you'll definitely see Peter. Maybe his own suit he's made himself.
Yeah.
And Iron Man finds him, recruits him in.
Because we obviously need that, and I feel like they could do something like how the first Avengers movie started, where it kind of zipped around and showed you, okay, this is what Iron Man's up to, this is what Hulk is up to, this is what...
long continuous shot.
Yeah, they can try to do that, I think, in this movie too, being like, this is where Captain America is at this point, this is where Iron Man is, and this is where Hawkeye, kind of the main characters in the movie, so you get an idea. Even Black Panther, who we don't know anything about, I feel like that could be the opening of this movie, is showing us, here's Black Panther, here's a little bit of his backstory, here's Peter Parker, here's, the people that you need to know
Yeah.
for the next.
That might be. It looked like someone blew up the UN, which could have been Crossbones from what I discovered from the trailer.
Indeed.
That could be the start of it, which is going to be saying, okay, we have all these accords that we're going to have because.
Yeah, it seems like that's kind of the main reason why everyone's gathered together. I just think it'll be interesting. They've said that this is going to be. Is this the longest? I think they said the longest Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely it needs to be from what if they do it correctly, because obviously, like I said, they need Black Panther and Spider-Man and those people that need to be introduced well. It's not just like, oh, suddenly this person's here and they're fighting on our side now. I want to know a little bit more about. I don't know a lot about Black Panther actually. He's not I don't think he's a very well-known hero in general to the public. So I think they need a good introduction. In general, I think everyone knows who Spider-Man is, but obviously he's a different Spider-Man than we've ever seen. So they need a bit of time. So that's always good to know that it's going to be a longer thing.
I still have a few other things that did in the trailer. Ant-Man riding a Hawkeye's arrow, that was cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Comic book moment.
Yeah, exactly. It looks really cool. I think they had a lot of stuff like that in the Ant-Man movies, and so I'm glad that they're going to do that. Like there was a lot of cool moments of Ant-Man being like. I think one of my favorite parts of the Ant-Man movie is him fighting inside the briefcase.
Yes.
Thing. And then obviously everyone's favorite scene in that is the train.
Yeah.
The train scene, because it's just ridiculous, and it's just like this is amazing. It's like just out of the cartoon basically. It's just. Like it's just a cartoon thing action scene that's happening, and it was great to watch. Exactly, it worked really well because it still felt like a real thing. But then every once in a while, they just cut to just so you know, these guys are tiny and they're just fighting on top of a toy train station, and they just have a little comedic moment of if you were watching this from,
and then
if you look back and you're watching it, it doesn't look like it's actually a big deal if you're watching from afar, but it really is. It's just kind of shrunk down. So I think that's probably Civil War. I think we're all excited for it in some way.
Oh yes.
For many different reasons.
And so they're still keeping it to the core of Tony versus and Tony trying to save Bucky and everything.
Yeah.
What I liked about the trailer too, unlike Batman vs Superman's trailer, I see the Civil War trailer. It was awesome. It made me excited. But I still don't. There's a lot about the movie you still don't know.
I feel like I don't know exactly what's happening. There's a couple hints of things. Do you think? They obviously so I don't know why they're doing it this way, but they obviously want you to think that War Machine Rhodes is gonna die because they've already shown that shot in both of the trailers where it looks like he's dead, and Iron Man is looking Tony Stark is looking depressed, and he's holding up it's supposed to make you think that he's dead. Do you think they're really doing that, or do you think that's just kind of a thing to
I think it'd be a pretty big spoiler to put on the trailer, but
exactly.
they could just do it because maybe more people die and just him. That's not the worst of it. That's just
because
one guy.
do you think that they're going to? So it doesn't seem like in this movie they could kill any of the actual major characters because we know that the Infinity War is coming and that most of these people are already signed on to be in those movies. So it's hard to that's one of the things that's hard about movies nowadays. It's like you can't you couldn't really kill Iron Man without us knowing that it's going to happen,
right?
Because he's already said, oh, we're over here, we're filming the next one, I'm here, I'm still fine.
But we haven't seen any Robert Downey Jr. saying
that's true. So it's possible. I think that would be a great idea if they eventually were to kill someone. They could say, hey, I'm signing a contract, but they didn't really. They just are telling people that he signed a contract.
You could say the flip was in the comic, Captain America dies, but in this one maybe Iron Man dies.
Yeah,
they flipped it.
They definitely could.
Another thing, I think they might actually kill Rhodes because look at it this way. I don't think they're just gonna injure him because that's what they did in Iron Man 3 with Happy.
True.
That'd just be a repeat of that movie. And I don't think they would do it. I think they need to raise the stakes.
And again, I think that they kind of want this to feel real because people, when they hear Civil War, they think of the big moments of the comic book storyline and Captain America obviously, and then a lot
you can't have a war without casualty at some point.
There's a lot of different. I think that both sides need to have people die for anyone to realize that this is a real deal instead of just it being like, oh, we're gonna fight for a while, but everyone's fine at the end of it. I think that they realize that the stakes have to be higher, and that at the end of this movie, you need to feel like it was important that they fought because we lost people, and then also because the fighting. And again, that's another thing that. The same thing with Batman and Superman. What do you think the reason is that it stops?
Right.
Why do you think that they're...
Captain America's going to stand down.
I mean, I think it could, but I don't know.
Well,
I see one reason. So the one reason that I've been thinking in my head is the main reason that they're fighting, it seems like, is because of Bucky. The secondary reason, which is still very important, is the Accords and the having to have a policing agency for the superheroes. But I honestly think that, like you said, Captain America would stand down, but only if he knew that he had to. In other words, if Bucky is dead.
Well, look at the comics. He looked at all the violence that was happening. It's like, no, this is a little too much. I think.
Well, to me, there's also another threat out there. The one
Yeah,
trailer you
obviously.
see Bucky and Black Panther are fighting each other, and suddenly a helicopter comes on and shoots them both. They're shooting at both Bucky and Black Panther at the same time.
Yeah.
There's another actor. He's actually on the poster of the movie. Daniel Bruhl. I can't remember. his name.
Yeah.
He's playing Baron Zemo.
Yeah, he was in the.
You get to see him in any of the trailers, but he's obviously a villainous character.
Exactly.
He's
What's
probably
his
in
role?
charge of Crossbones because he's Hydra, right?
Yeah, which again they've it's sort of the similar thing that we're thinking with Batman and Superman, which is like, well, we need to stop because we obviously need to save the world from whatever this thing is. In Batman and Superman, it's Doomsday. In this one, it's probably going to be whatever, you know.
Okay,
Baron
I have to
Zemo.
say one thing. Like, because they're rushing Batman and Superman, the thing I love the most that got me so excited for Civil War, they've been building the sub since like the very beginning movies.
Right.
In the first Avengers, you can easily see
Oh, yeah.
like
The tension.
tension between the two of them, and them not having disagreements on how to fight. Like even like from everything, like including the first time that they met in Captain America's in Germany, sitting there trying to fight, and then Iron Man just comes in blasting. Was it Metallica?
Yeah.
And just coming down AC/DC, whatever it was,
AC/DC, yeah.
and he just comes down, and Captain America's like, he kind of is like, who's this guy? What is he doing? We trying to fight? You know, like, come on, be serious for a minute. And like throughout that entire movie, they did a very good job of.
And into Age of
Having
Ultron, even obviously Tony
Oh,
making
yeah.
Ultron really caused the.
And then them fighting when they were at the
Yeah.
wood and everything. I will say though, like another thing I'm just throwing out there, and they may not have planned this. Back in Iron Man 2, when Coulson picked up Captain America's shield, it's like, you know what this is? It's like he just kind of like brushed off like it was
Didn't
nothing.
care.
But then they mentioned like a line later, it's like, oh, so you're the guy my dad never shut about. Like he already resented Captain America before he even met him.
Yeah.
It's obvious that Tony Stark knows who he is from know the history of
His dad never-
exactly. So it's interesting that they had that relationship even before they met, and it's really interesting. And again, it's believable. I understand very easily why they're fighting each other, whereas in the other movie, not that they had to create a reason in Batman Superman, but they kind of had to create a reason, and I'm still not 100% sure that it makes sense to me. I have to watch it and see. But this one, I already know. Oh yeah, they clearly don't like each other a lot of the times, and the reasons that they have outlined, even just in the trailer, are good enough that I would say this makes sense as a conflict.
I think what makes it so great too is that you can see both points of view. You know?
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, you can see Captain America's right, but Tony's also right.
Yeah.
And no one's really wrong.
Which is again something that they had to get right because it's really difficult. They did that in the comic book, but they can't take that story
Right.
from the comic book because it doesn't make any sense in the universe that they've built.
You know,
So they had to create another tension and another conflict that made sense
Right.
and was not clearly putting someone as the bad guy in this movie.
I can't figure out why is Nick Fury not in this?
Yeah.
It's interesting, yeah. It's possible he might be, but I think we probably would have heard if it was.
Well, I think they
We
should.
didn't know about him at the end of Iron Man.
Samuel L. Jackson's contract's running out. I think he only has
That's
a
true.
movie or two left. They might
Yeah.
want to save him for Infinity War.
But he also said he'd be willing to do it as long as.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean,
that-
obviously you have to renegotiate. He'll probably you can't keep all these actors on because again they have to pay a lot of money.
Look
to
how much
each
money
one of
Disney
them.
has right now.
They have a
can
lot of
afford-
money, but they have if you have to pay Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth. I said Thor Hemsworth, but that's fine.
It's the same thing.
Thor Hemsworth easily, and then all of the new people as well, and then plus Scarlett Johansson and Samuel L. Jackson, who are very famous actors that have a lot of other roles they're doing right now. Those people probably get paid a lot of money. Plus any of the new people, they can't keep all of them for too long.
Yeah, you know what was cool though? Another thing from the trailer, Scarlet Witch like bringing Vision down.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I saw someone like mention something in a comment that I have to actually go back and watch the trailer again. It looked like the gem wasn't in Vision. Like from that one shot, it looked like you
Ah,
didn't see the
I
gem in
noticed
his
that.
forehead.
That is interesting.
You have to assume at some point something was going to happen to Vision.
Yeah,
That
because-
stone's in his head. Thanos is going to want
Yeah,
it.
I still think that what they're going to do is Infinity War Part 1 is them kind of realizing who Thanos is and what he's trying to do, and them trying their best to keep the gems away from him. And I think Infinity War Part 1 ends with him just getting all the gems and it looking like, oh, Thanos wins. Okay, this is really bad. And then the movie ends.
And then the Guardians show up and it's like,
Yeah, it's something like that. Like I feel like the Part 1 is still going to end with Thanos finally just sitting there with the Infinity Gauntlet, having all the gems, and just being like, okay, I win.
saying,
And
I
then
got the power.
Part 2 is just going to be how do they get out of it and how do they beat Thanos, who's supposed to be, unkillable, basically.
Yeah.
So that's basically Marvel's long game,
They
which
sent
is
in the Hulk.
which has been happening for a very long time. Obviously, they planned this. You have to wonder how long they planned. I mean, they've obviously planned for a long time what they were going to do. The first Iron Man obviously had just Shield mentions, and they had the Avengers. But even past that, like we said, they put in mentions hinting towards Civil War very early on. Thanos was, kind of seen, fairly, early on in the game as well.
Yeah.
You have to wonder if Thanos has really kind of been playing this the whole time, sending Loki in, knowing that,
Yeah.
we got how smart he could be, knowing that if Loki fails, someone's going to mess it up.
Yeah.
Ultron went in there. Because his line,
Yeah.
"Fine, I'll do it myself," was almost like alluded to as if he almost had the idea for Ultron as well, hoping that would destroy
Yeah.
him.
But the entire time, every time we've seen Thanos, it almost seems like he's not bothered by anything.
He's
almost
got people collecting
yeah,
stuff
exactly.
for him.
Every time
Yeah.
you see him, he's just someone else is coming to him and basically saying they failed, and he's not worried. He's just like,
Mhm.
well, I have another plan going on. I have another idea, and even if that doesn't work, he's going to get them eventually. He's going to
Right.
get it eventually because he's smarter than everyone else and stronger than everyone else. So yeah, I think that's pretty much Civil War. We all kind of have that same feeling.
They can't get here soon enough.
Exactly.
No.
After that, we do have another one that I'm very excited for, which is the next installment in the X-Men
Yes.
series. Kind of, that's going to be basically finishing the new trilogy. The I think they did have a name for it, but I can't remember what it is. But I kind of just think of it as the First Class trilogy. I kind of have an opinion, and I don't know how many other people believe this with me, but I do think I love X-Men and I love X2, but I think that X-Men First Class is actually
Yeah.
my favorite X-Men
I think
movie
so,
of
too.
all of them, and I just feel like, and Days of Future Past was very good at building on that. I just feel like the cast did really well, and the story was very interesting, and all of the Michael Fassbender is one of my favorite
Yeah.
actors anyway, and James McAvoy did a great job, obviously. So I feel like this is going to be a very nice sort of homage to that whole trilogy, and a good way to end it. Especially with the inclusion of Oscar Isaac, who again I've seen, I think 4 or 5 of his movies already, and I've loved every single
He's
one of
good in all
them.
of them.
It's great. So I can't wait to see what that's going to look like. I have a list as well here of these people. So these are the new people in X-Men Apocalypse, and we kind of think. So they're introducing Apocalypse, obviously. They have a new Cyclops, new Jean Grey, Psylocke, new Storm, Nightcrawler, Angel, and Jubilee are all kind of the main. And again, is that one of the things that people are saying? Is that too many people? Is that going to give enough time for us to know? Or are those going to be is that what the new cast is going to look like?
But it's Bryan Singer. He's good at
Exactly.
ensemble performances.
That's what it is. And so that's what I'm wondering is they could easily do, Storm, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler. That could be the new X-Men that continues after this cast
Yeah.
leaves. If they worked well together, then they could easily have them be the new focus. That's just kind of what I was thinking about that.
I'm excited for it. I don't know, like, I love the other X-Men movies, but right now I'm more on the main Marvel cinematic universe over the X-Men.
I mean, I think I agree. I just love what they're doing, and I think that the time travel worked really well in Days of Future Past, and I think the time jump in First Class is pretty much what they needed.
I think Fox is finally finding their footing. Like, this is what we
Yeah.
need to be doing with this.
I think the
yeah.
problem is that they've messed up time so much.
Yeah.
But that's why they
These
tried
last
to
few
reboot it.
movies, though, they finally get in Deadpool. Comic accurate costumes. They
Yeah.
seem to finally decide. You know what? We need to do this right.
They looked at what all the fans were saying, and they said, "Okay, let's try it and see what happens." They didn't know for sure what was going to happen, which is why everyone said, Deadpool is kind of a low-budget movie, especially in comparison to any other superhero movie you look at. The budget was extremely low. It's still pretty high for a movie, but for a comic book movie, like these in the last couple of years, it was really low, and it made back so much more money than it cost. And I think they realized they need to do. Like you said, the more accurate representations, and especially the kind of things that people were asking for.
And I mean, Deadpool, I'm gonna point out something else. Deadpool in this movie were the first X-Men movies not to have Wolverine in it in some form.
Yeah.
That's true. Wolverine has been in every movie, at least in a little bit.
I mean, I even mentioned him in Deadpool, but
That's true. That's actually pretty funny.
Which could be a problem. They've relied almost too heavily on Wolverine. I
They
mean,
definitely
he's a
have.
popular character, sure, but the X-Men are so much bigger than him. I mean,
Yeah.
and they kind of focused on him. It's kind of the running joke was for a long time. It's Wolverine and then the X-Men. It's his movie.
Yeah.
and-
That was the cartoon they had.
Yeah.
It was called literally called Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah, would really, some of the other characters really played larger roles
Yeah.
in the comics. They just didn't in the movies.
Yeah, I think that it's just I don't know why they decided to do it, but they obviously in the first movie, if you look at that first X-Men movie,
Yeah.
it focuses very heavily on Hugh Jackman Wolverine. Like that's how it kind of starts, is with him and with Rogue, and that's kind of the force of that movie. And then after that, they just realized everyone loves Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Let's
Yeah.
continue. I mean, it's true, he's great, but he's going to be done now. So they obviously, but I think they've done a decent enough job of moving past. Like I said, First Class. I mean, he was in the movie, but only for about 5 seconds,
Right.
and then he was gone. And the new cast was the one that carried that movie.
Yeah.
You know
So-
the biggest problem is
What?
they keep showing Hugh Jackman as like in flashbacks as being like younger and all this stuff. But he keeps getting older. They're like going in such a
Wolverine's not supposed to age, but I mean, he
That's
obviously
why he's
has
doing
a-
one last movie.
he obviously has aged, because if you look at the first X-Men movie and you look at the newest one,
Oh yeah.
it's it's been 10 years. How do you not age in 10? They can't stop that from happening.
But CGI is
He also gets more built in every movie.
It's true. He's getting stronger somehow. How is this happening?
it's
He's
like
already-
look at X-Men Origins, which doesn't exist now, or even Days of Future Past. He has so much more muscle in those movies
He
than he
has
did.
so,
Yeah.
I mean, they put so much. I think they just put so much muscle on him in
The
the
Wolverine.
Wolverine movie, just because they wanted to have like just
That
in
shot him
origin-
coming out.
yeah,
of
exactly.
the-
When he comes out, that's like the shot from the trailer that everyone is like, "Oh, look at him coming out of that tub of liquid." Whatever was happening to him in that tub of liquid that caused him to, whatever, mutate.
It's water. I think.
Exactly, pretty much. It's just water.
It was water, but
That's all it was.
that's not what caused him to mutate. They were sticking the needles in him.
That's
with
right.
adamantium.
Adamantium skeleton thing. I forget what happened in that movie.
You know what was a good movie that's sad that they kind of destroyed? X2.
I love X2.
Yeah.
I think.
That was the best of that trilogy.
I agree. I think that X2 was better than. I love the first one, but I think the second one was just slightly better.
Because they literally had all the X-Men doing like their thing, and they even had them teaming up with Magneto and all that.
That Nightcrawler scene at the beginning was awesome.
Nightcrawler was really
Nightcrawler.
great. I love the way they played that off too, where it's like Nightcrawler seemed like he was going to be the villain of that movie basically,
Mm-hmm.
and he sort of was for a minute, and then he wasn't. But again, so X-Men Apocalypse, it's kind of, it looks like is it mostly taking place in Egypt, or is it just kind of the?
It looks like it might be a little. The one trailer you see, they're in like some city somewhere. Like
Well,
Yeah.
San
obviously they're going to be
Francisco or-
rolling up the X-Mansion too. So again,
That's true. Yeah.
It sounds like they're talking. They might make more of a global. This apocalypse is kind of a global threat.
Yeah, so they can kind of jump around.
He wants world domination.
look at the good news. We know for a fact, based on Deadpool, that in the future we're going to have the X-Mansion blowing up a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's like, sorry, the mansion blow up again. How many times is this now?
I think it's interesting. So I have the list here of the 4 horsemen that they've chosen in this movie. So obviously we have Apocalypse, and then we have Storm, Magneto, and Angel. So obviously Angel we haven't seen in this new version, and then Storm as well. But obviously Magneto we've seen plenty of. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they need to give us again background of who Storm is and who Angel is before they kind of have them corrupted by
Yeah.
Apocalypse, so we know.
And knowing
kind of the
Storm,
stakes.
even Angel for that matter, both are X-Men. Let's
Yeah.
see, did they get redeemed by the end of the movie, or what happens with
Yeah, it'll be interesting because it's supposed to be. I mean, it's kind of unclear what Apocalypse can do and what he can't do in different versions
Yeah.
of the storyline. So it's like, it's sometimes mind control, isn't it? In a lot of ways.
It's a little bit of mind control. He's supposed to be a very strong telekinetic,
Yeah.
and he can almost imbue mutants with stronger, like he can like max out their ability.
So that'd be good with Storm.
Yeah.
That would be really. Yeah, it's going to be obviously.
And he can also like size change. At that one trailer, he's seen like
yeah, you see him get
getting
bigger. and-
huge.
Yeah. So that'll be really interesting. I think that can definitely work, and it would be.
He's like the first mutant, right?
yeah.
Yeah, he's supposed to be throughout time that he's done. And I wonder if they're going to focus on that part as well, as like that he just throughout time keeps coming back up, and he chooses powerful people to kind of be his,
So if he was the first mutant, does that mean that like he started all the mutants? And then
Probably. I think the one that Charles did say said you all came from me
Yeah.
or something like
it's
that.
supposed to be sort of like they're like descendants almost, and like he was kind of, like it's an old, because he's so.
And people
ancient.
viewed him as a god, thinking he was this.
Yeah, which is why it's kind of like in different civilizations, it's like Apocalypse is known as like the end times because he represents that.
Yeah.
Kind of the end of all things because that's what is chaos and all that stuff. So yeah, I think that can definitely work as a good ender for that trilogy. After that, the big, I guess the big summer release would be the Suicide Squad.
Well, that's end of summer. Beginning of summer is gonna be
Yeah,
Avengers, or not Avengers.
Civil War next week.
Basically Avengers.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, May, and then in the end of May is X-Men. But at the end, kind of August, the beginning of August, we have the Suicide Squad. What did you guys think about this movie as it was kind of coming together? So when I first heard that they were making a Suicide Squad movie, I was excited because it's, again, the kind of thing that I don't think has been done before in, at least not kind of modern superhero movies. It's, if they do it correctly, it's going to kind of be like, none of these people are good people. Obviously, they're all, at least most of them are insane in some way, and but you kind of have to be rooting for them in some way as well.
I resent it only for the fact that they killed off the Suicide Squad in LCW because of it.
Which is DC's fault.
Yeah, I've heard. I've
their act together.
heard that was looking pretty good, and then they couldn't do it because of Mark.
I was excited for it. I was almost more excited for this movie than Batman vs Superman.
That's how I felt.
Yeah,
too.
I think
Because-
everyone's like the Joker again.
Yeah, because I've seen Batman, I've seen Superman, but Suicide Squad, I mean, to me, it's a very unique thing for them. It's a good story. You know, bad guys being forced to do good things.
Yeah.
And then you have, I think, really, if they do it right, it could be for DC what Guardians of the Galaxy was for Marvel. This
Yeah, that-
unique team.
The thing that was most spot on from what I've seen in the trailer, of all the people, because they've changed everyone a little bit, Harley Quinn is the most spot on.
Yeah.
I think Harley Quinn looks and like sounds very similar to what people want it to be, in terms of like the cartoons and the things like that.
Question is, how many of them die? Because the idea of the Suicide
It's
Squad,
true.
they're going to die.
It's supposed
A
to
lot of
be.
them are going to die.
And I think I think they can afford to do that because there's a lot of people in this movie who are not kind of big
Yeah.
names for them. Like obviously they want to keep the Joker, they probably want to keep Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably keep Deadshot, maybe.
yeah,
It's Will Smith
but I mean a
playing.
lot of other people like Rick Flag and Killer Croc, the Enchantress. I don't know that they need those for the
Yeah.
DC universe to continue. People don't generally know who those people are, so they could kill them in this movie without a big deal. I'm curious about this. So, what do you guys think? I was looking up online. Who do you think is the first name if you're looking at the billing of this movie, the cast list? What would be your guess? The person. So this is kind of, I don't know why but it's just kind of like billed as like the top actor of this movie.
Either Jared Leto or Will Smith.
I would say Will Smith.
Yeah, it was Will Smith, and I was kind of surprised at that. And I wonder if that's just because Will Smith is kind of a really well-known actor,
Yeah.
maybe more so than the other, or if they're going to focus more on Deadshot
Yeah,
as
maybe.
kind of, because I mean, like I said, Will Smith is probably the most well-known of these
Yeah.
actors out of anyone else. Like a lot
Jared
of
Leto is pretty well known.
yeah, he is
too.
well-known now.
Will Smith's
But I think he's been well known for longer, and I think the general public, more people would know Will Smith, which is an interesting idea. We obviously haven't seen a lot of Jared Leto, but of what we have seen, what do you think?
I don't like the tattoos and metal teeth thing, but I do like I've seen how he's playing the character.
Yeah.
And I think he could very well be like the closest thing to Heath Ledger had a very good portrayal of it too, but I think he'll be very close to the comic. I'm not a fan of the tattoo thing, but maybe for what they're going for,
I want to say that if you were younger, Mark Hamill would be the perfect Joker.
Yeah, Mark Hamill will always be the best. I
Yeah, it'd
think.
be good.
Like if they could somehow get him to do live action, it would be great.
Yeah.
I think it would be really interesting, and I don't know if that's what they're doing, but it looks like they might be. To go, obviously they had Heath Ledger, that is the one that everyone is kind of picturing as, because he's the most recent, and he did a great job of it.
Yeah.
So I think that it would be interesting if they try to go different than that. In that, again, there are a lot of different depictions of Joker. There's a bunch of different ones, and some of the ones that are, I think, more interesting are where he's clearly insane, but he's almost comical in some ways. Like it's not like a funny character, but he kind of has a sense of humor that's kind of portrayed through the movie, and he does the little.
And also like fairly
Yeah.
smart, like
Exactly.
almost brilliant but insane.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously he's insane in pretty much all of the depictions.
Yeah.
That's the point of it. But I think the more comical could be interesting. Not obviously not too far in that direction, but kind of insane, but has a strange sense of humor that's kind of pulled through. A little bit wackier than Heath Ledger's, but not quite as wacky as some of the cartoon ones that have been done.
Yeah.
Is what I think would be good for me to see.
Or the classic Jack Nicholson Joker.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Now, who do you think the villain in this is? Because they're fighting
Again,
something.
yeah.
Is it Joker
It
or
could
is
be
it?
because they haven't shown anything so far of Joker with anyone else.
Yeah.
So that's what makes me think. Obviously, he's not locked up with them, and it seems like the main reason that he would be fighting with them is if Harley Quinn goes to him and says, because it seems like Harley Quinn already has that relationship with Joker in this movie.
Mhm.
They're not. This is not like going to be their origin story, which is an interesting story if they wanted to ever do that, but I don't think they will. They might just kind of imply what happened, the story. But I think that might be what it is that Harley Quinn is like, now that I'm out, I'm going to go find, the Joker and kind of pull him into this. Or like you said, it could be that they're fighting him, which is
Yeah.
a very likely
I
scenario.
thought I heard that Batman may show up in this movie.
It has been confirmed that Batman is in this movie at some point. We
I
just don't
believe-
know
You
how
see a
much.
glimpse of him in the trailer.
Yeah, there's a little bit of him in the trailer. We just don't know how much of he's in the movie, and I don't know that he needs to be in the movie very much.
No.
Maybe it'd be a flashback with the Joker.
Yeah, it could be. If it was a flashback, I think that would be great. But I just am curious about what he's doing there.
Well, like the Batman vs Superman trailer, you see hints of the Joker, like the spray
Yeah,
paint
there's
on
little
Robin's
bits.
costume.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll tie in back to that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So because Batman does exist in this universe, what are they getting all of these guys for? Like, what can they not get Batman to do this, or is he off doing something else, or is this in the part of the universe where, like we said, obviously, where we are now in the timeline with Batman, Superman, Batman is kind of not that he's retired or anything, but he's kind of old and kind of not
Maybe.
as involved. And then there's but this could be at different points in the timeline, possibly. People are saying it could be in the past, it could be.
Oh, this gets confusing when you start putting timelines into
Exactly,
this.
yeah.
Wait till we can flash in here.
I've heard, some people think maybe Enchantress is really the person they're after.
Yeah,
'cause
which
she's,
is-
I don't know too much about her in the comic, but I do know that they say she's been a villain to the Justice League before. Her power.
Yeah.
So maybe she's the one they're after. Who knows?
It definitely could be, because again, it's another one that if you look at any of the trailers or anything
She's
like
not
that, she's
really-
not with. Again, she's not with them. She's
Yeah.
not in the trailer. She's not shown much, but it's obviously going to play some part in it. So it's interesting. And again, it doesn't look like she's locked up with the rest of them. So it'll be interesting to see why that is.
I'm just excited to see Harley Quinn.
I think so. Yeah, I think I would love to see the new Joker. I hope it's good.
You know, it'd be a good storyline to do down the road.
What's that?
A live action Killing Joke.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. I'm really excited for that movie.
The animated one, I'm very excited for
Because
that.
I've seen a few of the DC animated movies, and I think
Yeah.
they do a really good job with them. And
And Mark Hamill's gonna
yeah,
be
exactly. And
Hopefully Kevin Conroy
Yeah,
will.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
That would be so good. So that is pretty much what we think of Suicide Squad. The final movie that is coming out this year, comic books, November 4th, 2016, is also going to be another Marvel movie this year. Two this year. One of them is Civil War, and the second one is Doctor Strange.
I'm very excited for
Yeah.
it.
So we know Matt is really the only one that has actually. So I don't know that I'd ever. I think I've heard of Doctor Strange before the movie was announced, but I hadn't heard much about him. I didn't know a lot. So obviously I've just been learning.
The only thing I've ever seen of him was on the Spider-Man cartoons from the 90s.
I love this. I think that's probably where I saw him too, because I used to watch the Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah.
I think I've seen every episode of that
Yeah.
Spider-Man
Awesome
cartoon.
show.
It's on Hulu.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I was so
That's-
excited when I saw it. I was
That's
like,
probably.
yes. Such a
I
great
have to go
show.
back and watch those because they're so good.
The X-Men 90s series is on there too.
Yeah.
Um,
I think Fantastic Four and all that too.
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
So this is an interesting one. So the director of this movie, I was just looking up because I had never heard of the director before. He's done a lot of, most of what he's done. I'll just give you the list of them. The Day the Earth Stood Still is the biggest, probably most popular one. The Keanu Reeves version, like the new
Oh.
one, which was not very good. The rest of them are Deliver Us from Evil, Sinister, Exorcism. It's all
Horror.
yeah, he has horror things. So and this is what I'm thinking. I feel like that would be very interesting because you know that Marvel's not going to do a full-on horror movie, not anywhere close to it even. But if they try to make this is their first movie in which they're going to really delve into the magic of the universe, because it's nothing else has ever been explicitly said as, oh, this is magic that they have. Usually it's in some other way.
Like Thor was like, oh, what you call magic, I call technology.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of implied. It's like, well, yeah, it would be magic to you Earthlings. So, and this is obviously supposed to be sort of that way. Aren't they talking about sort of the quantum
Yeah.
realm and things like that? So it's like just kind of, it's something from another world. It's not even really magic. It's just something, but it's what it is. It's magical.
It's a magical place.
And so I feel like they could almost make this have some sort of dark horror elements in it, and that would be really interesting because they're sort of going into this. He's a sorcerer. It's kind of supposed to be that kind of thing. So if they were to ever do a something close to what a horror movie might be, I think this is a
Pretty good.
good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously we do have Benedict Cumberbatch playing Doctor Strange.
Who's amazing.
Exactly.
He looks great in the costume.
Yeah, he looks like just pulled from the comics.
I'm like, wow.
The other main cast, basically, Chiwetel Ejiofor, who I am a big fan of.
Yeah, he's good.
He's
Rachel
great.
McAdams, Mads Mikkelsen, and Tilda Swinton playing the Ancient One, which kind of got some people
Yeah.
interested because it's obviously not the kind of thing that people were expecting when they heard the casting for the Ancient One. It's not who they were expecting. And I think that's, but I mean, I've always heard people say this, and I think it's true. If you look at Tilda Swinton just normally every day, she kind of looks like an alien person.
Yeah.
Like she's a
Very ambiguous.
she's got a sort of a different kind of like facial structure that's like this kind of looks magical and weird.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be
She plays a good Ice Queen.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see that. But anyway, obviously the main focus of the movie is going to be mostly Benedict Cumberbatch, and this is one of the few movies that Marvel has actually said we are going to do an origin story, because most people, again, like I said, most people don't know anything about Doctor Strange or who that is or what that even means, and they're gonna have to very slowly kind of introduce you to the fact that magic does exist in the Marvel universe, just so you know.
All I want is by the time Infinity War comes around, especially because I didn't realize Rachel McAdams in there too, get like her and like somehow with Benedict Cumberbatch and Robert Downey Jr. all in the room together and make like a bunch of Sherlock jokes.
Yeah, they have Martin Freeman over there already, so it's perfect.
Oh yeah, Martin Freeman too.
They have Martin Freeman and they have Benedict Cumberbatch, and
she
they have
played
Robert Downey
what's her name
Jr.
in
who also played Sherlock. So it's kind of a weird.
And, yeah,
mix
she was
of things.
as I was saying, because she was in the Sherlock movies with.
with Robert Downey Jr.
So they could just make Sherlock jokes all day.
So many references. But yeah, no, I think that movie, again, the limited amount that I do know about the storyline is interesting. So I have high hopes because I love Benedict Cumberbatch in all of his movies.
I'm very excited for it right now. I think he's like the perfect person for the role.
It'll be really.
I do want to know, will he be British or will he be American?
Yeah.
Can he do an American accent?
That's the question. I
Yeah,
never heard him do
I
it.
haven't either. I think they don't want to confuse people. I think they're just going to keep it British because it'll be, first off, it's easier for him, and also people will come to see the movie and they'll be like, oh, I recognize him. He's
I know.
Sherlock
They asked him
Holmes."
very early on to get cast which one he's going to do. At the time, they weren't sure yet. which
Yeah, I
one.
heard that. He said that they're not sure. They're just going to figure it out
It's
as
like
they're going.
some British people are really good at American accents. Look at Hugh Laurie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are some
Or
people.
half the people that are in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, true.
Some of the people I didn't know were British. So I'm just like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see.
It's possible they could do that. So obviously, out of all these movies that we've talked about, just kind of to wrap up, what do you think you're kind of most and least?
Civil War.
I think probably Civil War, just because probably because it's really close, so that's why I'm kind of hyped for it. And obviously, when I was growing up, I think Spider-Man was probably my favorite superhero of all time, and so and because I love the Marvel Universe so much right now as it is, putting Spider-Man in there is just going to make it better in so many ways, I think, because that's just what it needs. So I guess Civil War probably.
I would say Civil War for me as well.
Yeah, just because it's really close. It's going to be released, like 2 months,
Yeah.
basically.
If I were to rank it, I'd probably say Civil War, maybe X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah, I like the X-Men trilogy really a lot.
I probably didn't go to Suicide Squad, Doctor Strange, and then Batman vs
That's
Superman.
I think Batman vs Superman is actually a lot higher up for me, just because that last trailer kind of sold me on Batman
It
more.
was-
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Batman will be good. I don't know that the movie will be good, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I have faith in Ben Affleck.
I'm,
not a lot of people
I'm
can say.
optimistic
Ben Affleck.
about it.
I think that what's interesting about the DC universe, and this is something that I think might be a problem, they might not be able to do it correctly, only because, okay, so what they've decided to do, and I think it's okay, is to have the DC universe be dark, especially in comparison to the Marvel universe as it exists. And I think that's fine. I think it should, that's a good idea to have, like, well, we don't want to do what Marvel is doing. We want to do something different, so let's make it darker in tone and then have it be, sort of that style. But I don't think that Superman was the one that they should have done that with.
No.
I don't, because I feel like the point of Superman in most cases is to be the light in that world and to be optimistic. And so if they don't have someone doing that, then that's going to be really,
Superman shouldn't kill.
yeah, that's true, obviously. But even like in the Justice League, who's going to be this sort of like lighthearted, like sort of optimistic person?
Flash.
Flash.
Yeah, it should be Flash again. So hopefully they do that correctly. But otherwise, it's like it kind of should have been Superman because obviously it's not going to be Batman. Batman is usually, in most cases,
Yeah.
dark in his storylines
I
than
mean,
anyone else.
the dark tone of things works for certain characters. Like
It does,
Batman,
yeah.
that would have been a
It
perfect
would-
Batman movie.
So I think they should have exactly. I think they. I mean, they didn't want. Obviously, they didn't want to start with a Batman movie because they just finished
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan. So they figured, okay, well, let's do something else. And the only other one that they could really start with is Superman because it's the biggest thing they have. That is, most people will come in the door because Superman is extremely popular. And they obviously wanted to set their tone that their whole movie universe is going to be darker than Marvel's. So I think they just kind of had to do it that way. But I just don't think that it was a good idea.
You know who wanted to do a Wonder Woman film, but they never gave him a chance?
Who's that?
Joss Whedon.
Yep.
I also heard that.
They
too.
turned him down, and then he did
You
Avengers.
turned down Joss Whedon. What are you doing? Never turned down Joss Whedon for anything. It's perfect.
I think he only bid $400 for like the
Oh
Rise of
my
Superman
goodness,
2.
that's amazing.
No one else wanted him.
That's crazy.
I'm sure they kicked themselves afterwards. Like, whoops.
I just feel like anything I've seen from even from Batman Superman, like the entire thing looks like dark in general. Like
Yeah.
just like Zack Snyder stuff usually does. Like like even just the lighting of it. It's just like most of the time it looks like there's not a lot of sun wherever they are.
Well,
It's just like, oh, they're fighting only at night.
that's the question then. How in the world is Superman getting his
I
powers
don't
here?
know. It's exactly. Doesn't he have to recharge with the sun or
He's
something?
gotta be in the sun.
Yeah.
The only lighthearted things I saw was like, is she with you? No, I thought she was with you. And then like the end when he tries to fight Batman, just like looks at his fist like, that should have hit you.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I think it could be good, but I think again it's probably going to be a little bit too serious. And I feel it would have worked really great if they had Batman being the dark, sort of cynical
The Dark Knight.
thing, exactly, and then have Superman sort of be this optimistic kind of. I feel like they did a weird reversal, where not reversal, but almost actually kind of because it's like Superman is like kind of just going around like he's killed people, he has destroyed half the city, and they're making a big deal about it, and he's kind of like, no, I'm just gonna go do my own thing, and Batman is saying we need to keep him in check.
And
And
you see Superman, like people bowing before him. It just seems a little like.
it's like a bit too much. I'm like, again, they could have done that with a different person. With
Yeah.
Superman, it feels like, but again, they kind of had to pick Superman to start because it's the most popular.
You know,
thing
in
they have.
one like shot, it looked like Superman was bowing to Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting. There's a lot of weird stuff in that thing that people are saying like half the movie could be just a dream anyway, and I don't. I wouldn't be surprised if some of it is just weird like dream
I mean,
sequences.
Zack Snyder, he's a very like cinematic
Yeah.
director. His things look great. It's always his stories always seem to fall a little short
It's
though.
never quite as good as it. Yeah.
Does he write the stories or does he have someone else writing
I
them?
think he's the same guy he has every time. He probably should find a different guy.
So, and again, I feel like the DC universe can get better. I just feel like the way that it started is probably not the best idea in terms of what they wanted to do with the character. Because I think it would have this Batman Superman versus thing would have worked a lot better if Superman had been the optimistic kind of guy and Batman had kind of been this old cynical
Mhm.
guy. But since Batman is this old cynical guy and Superman is also sort of dark and not very optimistic about things, it's kind of weird. And they're both sort of upset the whole time. It seems like no one's happy.
You can listen to Civil War. You have Tony and Steve are already
Yeah.
very different people.
Yeah, they're very different, and also like we already know who they are as people, so it's a lot easier for us
Yeah.
to get invested. And obviously, in general, that's what it is. Captain America is the kind of like
Idealistic.
he's idealistic. He's hopeful. He woke up. He's he's a man out of time. That's the whole
Yeah.
idea of him. That's what I think is great about the Captain America trilogy that they're trying to put together is. He's slowly becoming sort of corrupted by it.
Mhm.
He's realizing the world isn't as like it used to be.
Yeah.
I can't keep believing that everyone is good and keep doing things the way I've been doing it. And it's kind of Tony Stark bleeding off on him, and Tony Stark kind of being this cynical, sarcastic guy who just knows, that's why he tried to build Ultron. He's like, look, we need this because the world is going bad, and we need something to, fix the world and keep everyone safe. Whereas Captain America was like, no, we can do it. The world is good in general, and we can save people. And that's what they could have done with Batman versus Superman, but they kind of went too far the other way.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion.
But we shall see.
We shall see. It'll be good.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Eventually we'll get some better sound stuff so you can actually hear us better.
Yeah.
And I want to say one last thing. Tomorrow, Matt will have been married for a year, so congratulations, Matt.
Thank you.
Yay, congratulations. Applause, applause, applause.
How's married life, Matt?
That's awesome.
Okay, thank you all for listening. We'll
Thank
figure
you.
it out. Episode 2.
Yep.